For months now, local news outlets in Las Vegas have been carefully, almost nervously, shining a spotlight on tourism numbers in the city. The reporters use cautious language, hedging their words as they discuss how visitor numbers are down. I say few because it's still in the millions, one local news anchor reassures viewers, but it is down. The question hanging in the air, unspoken but obvious, is whether Las Vegas tourism is just experiencing a temporary slowdown or whether something more fundamental and concerning is happening. Is it slowing? Is it okay? Should we be worried? A recent news segment featured a reporter standing in front of the iconic "Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas" sign, that internationally recognized symbol of the city's glamour and excitement, discussing what the numbers are actually showing. An economist from UNLV, Stephen Miller, expressed growing concerns for the rest of 2025 and the start of 2026 regarding tourism trends. In a study he conducted, the year-to-date decline in visitation was 6.5%, a significant drop that represents millions of fewer visitors compared to previous years. What he's seeing specifically is that tourism numbers for international travelers have dropped dramatically, with fewer visitors coming from Canada, Europe, Asia, and other key markets that have historically been crucial to Las Vegas's success. The news segment concluded with the reassuring statement that many in the Las Vegas establishment want you to believe. Now, once again, Las Vegas is not dying. Okay, it's not dying. But here's the truth that the corporate-controlled media and the casino industry don't want you to hear. Except it is dying. It absolutely is dying. And it will continue to die if fundamental things don't change soon. The city of Las Vegas, or more accurately, the corporate entities that control the Strip and dominate the city's economy, are freaking out right now. They're so desperate to maintain the illusion that everything is fine that they've stooped low enough to peddle garbage propaganda like that news segment, trying to convince residents and potential visitors that there's nothing wrong, that we just need to trust in the corporate overlords of the Strip who have clearly made everything so much better over the past few decades, with their resort fees, parking fees, and what feels like having too much fun fees. The fact that it says a lot that many people, both locals and longtime visitors, are even half seriously saying we should bring back the good old days when the mob-controlled Vegas speaks volumes about how bad things have gotten. At least the mob had the decency to siphon money from visitors while actually letting them enjoy the games they loved, rather than nickel and diming them for simply existing and breathing the dry Mojave Desert air. Las Vegas is clearly not what it used to be. Anyone who has been visiting or living in this city for more than a decade can feel the difference, can sense that something fundamental has changed, and not for the better. Part of my motivation for creating content about Las Vegas is to celebrate and preserve the memory of the good old days of Vegas, the era when the city was genuinely fun, accessible, and exciting for regular people, not just ultra-wealthy high rollers. And the reason I feel compelled to document and discuss that earlier era is because it's painfully clear now that Vegas is not at all what it used to be. I've worked in the city for years in various capacities within the hospitality and gaming industry, and I've watched the transformation happen in real time. But it isn't just me who thinks this way or who has noticed the dramatic decline. In this investigation, I'm going to share the perspectives and firsthand accounts of 5 different Las Vegas residents who are currently working in what can only be described as the dystopian corporate hellscape that the Vegas Strip has become. These are people I've known for a while, colleagues and contacts I've maintained relationships with over the years, and I've been exchanging emails with them, collecting their stories and experiences. Just listen to what they have to say, read their accounts of what it's actually like to work on the Strip in 2025, and tell me if any of it aligns in any way, shape, or form with the sanitized, reassuring news broadcast I just referenced. Story 1. The Cocktail Waitress. Vegas used to be for everyone. I started working as a cocktail waitress at the Mirage in 2008, right before the financial crisis hit. Back then, it didn't matter what night of the week it was, whether it was a Tuesday or a Saturday. The casino floor was always full, always buzzing with energy and excitement. You could feel the energy before you even clocked in for your shift, just walking through the employee entrance and hearing the sounds of the casino floor coming to life. It was chaotic in the best possible way, the kind of controlled chaos that made you feel alive and made every shift feel like an event. The slot machines lit up constantly with wins, bells ringing and lights flashing. People were loud, laughing, celebrating their wins, or cursing good-naturedly at their losses. Everyone from newlyweds in their 20s on their honeymoon trip to retirees in their 60s taking their annual Vegas vacation came to Las Vegas with hope in their eyes and excitement in their voices. There was this universal sense of possibility, this feeling that tonight might be the night when everything changed, when you hit the jackpot or went on an incredible winning streak. I used to make $300 in tips on a Tuesday night, easily, and that wasn't even trying particularly hard or working an especially busy section. That was just a normal Tuesday. Guys playing $5 blackjack would toss me chips like candy, casually handing over a $5 chip and saying, "One for you, sweetheart," without even thinking about it. They were generous even when they were losing, which tells you something important about the atmosphere and the mindset people had. You could tell that most of them weren't rich, weren't high rollers with unlimited bankrolls. But they had saved up for this trip, planned for it, looked forward to it for months. Vegas was their escape from everyday life, their chance to feel special and have an adventure, and they treated the staff like we were part of that experience, part of what made Vegas magical. There was mutual respect and appreciation. We took care of them, and they took care of us. But in the last 2 years especially, it's like someone reached into the heart of the Strip and pulled the soul out. I now work at a different property, and I won't name it because I value my job and don't want to get fired for speaking honestly, but it's one of the big corporate-owned resorts on the south end of the Strip. And the change is dramatic and depressing. If you're not dropping five figures during your visit, if you're not a whale or a high roller betting hundreds or thousands of dollars per hand, you're essentially invisible to management and increasingly to the property itself. My section used to be spread across 3 different pit areas, serving dozens of tables and hundreds of guests per shift. Now it's 2 pits, sometimes just one if the floor isn't busy enough to justify more staff. And here's the thing, the floor is never busy anymore, not like it used to be. The energy is gone, replaced by a kind of desperate, joyless atmosphere. You want to know what Vegas is now? It's $30 cocktails that used to cost $12. It's no comps unless you're betting $500 per hand, when you used to get free drinks and meal vouchers for playing $25 blackjack. It's $45 parking fees just to visit a casino where parking used to be free. It's resort fees on top of already inflated room rates, adding $50 or more per night to your bill for amenities you never asked for and probably won't use. Everything is up. Every price has increased dramatically, except for one thing: tips. Tips are down, way down, because the guests who are still coming can barely afford to be here in the first place. And when regular folks, working class and middle class people, who used to be the backbone of Vegas tourism, do show up, you can see it in their faces immediately. They're already annoyed before they even start gambling or having drinks. They can't believe how much everything costs, how expensive it is just to exist in a Las Vegas casino. The sticker shock is real and it's killing the vibe. I had this older couple come to my section the other night, probably in their 60s, and they were sweet, friendly people from Iowa or somewhere in the Midwest. They told me they hadn't been back to Las Vegas since before the pandemic, so this was their first trip in over 5 years. The wife leaned in close to me and whispered, almost apologetically, "We thought we'd come back and relive the old magic, but it's different now, huh?" I just smiled and nodded because what was I supposed to say? She wasn't wrong. The magic is gone, replaced by corporate efficiency and profit maximization. The saddest part is that management doesn't even pretend to care anymore about the regular guests or the employees. We used to get regulars, people we knew by name who came back every few months or once a year. Retirees who loved Vegas and made it their annual tradition. Blue-collar guys from the Midwest who saved up all year for their Vegas trip. Even busloads of folks from California who came in every few months for a weekend getaway. I knew their names, knew their drink orders, knew their stories. Now they're gone, almost all of them, replaced by a completely different clientele. Whales from overseas who barely acknowledge your existence. Tech bros who treat you like a servant. Bottle service crowds who are more interested in Instagram photos than actually having fun. And influencers taking endless selfies with drinks they never actually finished drinking. And don't even get me started on the tipping culture with this new crowd. They either completely ignore you, treating you as invisible furniture, or they bark orders at you like you're a servant who exists solely to fulfill their demands. Or they tip absolutely nothing despite receiving excellent service. Sometimes you get all three behaviors from the same person. I've had people literally yell at me, not just complain, but actually yell, because I didn't bring their drink fast enough when I was covering 5 tables by myself with no backup, because management cut staffing to save money. It's like people have forgotten that we're human beings, or maybe they never saw us that way to begin with, and the veneer of politeness has just worn off. My back hurts constantly from the physical demands of the job. My feet hurt from standing and walking in heels for 8-hour shifts. And for what? Last Friday night, which should be one of the busiest and most lucrative shifts of the week, after working a full 8-hour shift in heels, serving dozens of guests and running back and forth across the casino floor, I walked out with $88 in tips. $88. In 2014, just 11 years ago, I would have made triple that amount, easily $250 to $300 on a Friday night. Hell, I would have made $88 in 3 hours back then, not 8. I used to feel genuinely proud of this city, proud to work on the Strip, proud to be part of the Las Vegas experience. Now I just feel sad, like I'm working at a theme park that forgot what it was supposed to be selling. Vegas used to be about fun, about excitement, about the possibility that anything could happen. You didn't have to be rich to feel like a high roller for a night. You could walk in with $100 in your pocket and leave with an incredible story and memories that would last a lifetime. Now, unless you've got serious money, unless you're genuinely wealthy, the Strip doesn't want you. The message is clear in the pricing, in the policies, in the way staff are trained to prioritize high rollers over everyone else. And I think people are finally starting to get that message, and they're staying away. Story 2. The Housekeeper. The rooms are empty, but we're still cleaning like it's 2015. I've been working as a housekeeper on the Las Vegas Strip for over 20 years now. I started my career at the Riviera, may she rest in peace, back when that property was still standing and operating. When they finally tore down the Riviera in 2016 to make room for the convention center expansion, I moved to one of the big corporate-owned resorts on the south end of the Strip. I won't name the specific property because I need this job and can't afford to be identified and potentially fired, but if I told you the name, you would absolutely recognize it. You'd know the Golden Towers, the distinctive architecture, the brand name that's synonymous with Las Vegas. At first, when I made the move from the Riviera to this larger property, it felt like an upgrade, like a step up in my career. It was a bigger property with more rooms, which meant more potential for tips. The benefits package was better. The facilities were newer and nicer, but now, several years later, it feels like I walked into a slow-motion collapse, like I'm watching a once great hotel gradually fall apart from the inside. You want to know the truth that management doesn't want anyone talking about? The rooms are empty. Not all of them, sure, because the property isn't completely dead. But enough rooms are empty that you absolutely notice it, that it's impossible to ignore. Whole wings of the hotel that used to be turned over every single day with guests checking out and new guests checking in constantly are just quiet now. Silent. When you walk down those hallways, the lights are off in room after room. The sheets are untouched because no one has slept in them. There's no minibar mess because no one has been there to open the minibar. It's like ghosts live in those wings now, or more accurately, like no one lives there at all. But here's the thing that makes it even more frustrating and absurd. Management doesn't acknowledge this reality. They don't say, hey, occupancy is down, so we're going to adjust staffing and quotas accordingly. Oh no. They want to maintain the appearance that everything is fine, that the hotel is just as busy as it's always been. So they still schedule us with heavy workloads, they still push the same aggressive quotas that they had when the property was actually full. 12 rooms by 3 p.m., Lupe. No excuses. Meanwhile, half of those 12 rooms haven't seen an actual guest in a week or more. We used to take genuine pride in the little touches that made a hotel room special. The things that separated a good hotel from a great one. The way the towels were folded into decorative shapes. How we'd leave a mint on the pillow or a handwritten note welcoming guests. The way we'd fluff the pillows just right so they looked inviting and luxurious. Those details mattered, and we had time to do them properly. Now it's just rush, rush, rush. There's no time for polish or attention to detail. It's just sanitize, wipe, spray, move on to the next room as fast as possible. Get through your quota and get out. And here's the worst part of the current system. They stopped offering daily housekeeping during COVID as a cost-cutting measure and a supposed safety precaution, but they never really brought it back. Not in any meaningful way. Unless a guest specifically requests housekeeping, which most don't because they don't realize it's not automatic anymore, we don't go into occupied rooms. Which means that when we finally do clean a room after a guest has been staying there for 3 or 4 nights without any housekeeping service, it's an absolute disaster. Trash is piled up and overflowing. Food has been left out and is rotting or attracting insects. There are stains on the sheets and carpets that you don't even want to think about or ask about. People treat hotel rooms like dumpsters now because they know no one is coming to clean, so why bother maintaining any level of cleanliness or respect for the space? And the layoffs, they're happening constantly, but management doesn't announce them. There are no official statements or meetings where they explain what's happening. They just quietly remove names from the schedule and people disappear. Maria, who worked on my floor, didn't show up last Monday for her shift. By Thursday, when I walked past the employee locker room, her locker was completely empty, cleaned out. No goodbye party, no explanation, no acknowledgement of her 11 years of service to the property. I texted her to ask what happened, and I got nothing back. No response. It's like she just vanished. It's clear that management wants to run this place with half the staff and double the expectations. Fewer workers, fewer benefits, more demands on those of us who remain. And then they wonder why morale is in the toilet, why people are calling in sick or quitting without notice. We used to get cash tips left on pillows or on the bathroom counter almost every day. It was standard practice. Tourists were generous, whether they were families, retirees, or just the regular Vegas crowd of working class and middle class people who appreciated good service. But those people aren't the ones coming to Vegas anymore. Now the guests are mostly young couples in their 20s and 30s who are trying to create content for Instagram and TikTok, doing everything for the gram, as they say. They don't tip housekeepers, they don't make eye contact with staff, and half the time they complain to the front desk if we knock on their door while they're sleeping off a hangover, even though we're just trying to do our jobs. I don't blame the guests entirely for the problems because I understand that Vegas has changed in ways that affect everyone. Vegas just isn't what it used to be. It's not welcoming anymore. It's expensive, exhausting, and increasingly robotic and impersonal. Self-check-in kiosks instead of friendly front desk staff. Digital room keys on your phone instead of physical key cards handed to you by a person. Concierge services accessed through an app instead of talking to an actual human being who knows the city. Fewer people providing service, more technology replacing human interaction. But no one in corporate management thought about what happens to the people behind the scenes. The ones like me who actually keep this city running, who clean the rooms and make the beds and scrub the toilets. I'm 58 years old. I'm too young to retire, at least financially. I can't afford to stop working for another 7 or 10 years. But I'm also too old to start over in a completely different career or industry. This is what I know. This is what I've done for 2 decades. I still love parts of this job. Genuinely. I love the coworkers who have become like family over the years. The women I work alongside who understand the struggles and share the frustrations. I love the occasional moments of quiet when I'm cleaning a high-floor room and I look out the window at the strip below, at the city I've called home for so long. But it's not the same Vegas I started working in 20 years ago. The soul of this city used to be its people, the workers and the visitors who came together to create something special. Now it feels like the Strip only cares about spreadsheets and profit margins and whales who drop tens of thousands of dollars per visit. And let me tell you something important. When the people who clean your bed sheets, who scrub your toilets, who make your room comfortable and livable, when those people are scared about losing their jobs, tired from being overworked, and invisible to management and guests alike, that says something very real and very troubling about where Las Vegas is heading. Story 3. The Slot Technician. The machines are tighter and the regulars know it. You want to know the real truth about Vegas? The truth that the casinos don't want anyone talking about? The house always wins. Yeah, sure, everyone knows that on some level. It's a cliche, a truism that people repeat. But lately the house isn't just winning. The house is downright greedy, extracting every possible dollar from players in ways that feel less like entertainment and more like exploitation. I'm a slot technician, and I've been working on slot machines up and down the Strip for the past 15 years. I know these cabinets, these machines, better than I know most of my friends and family. I can tell just by the sound whether a machine is about to jam, whether someone tried to tamper with it, whether it's functioning properly or needs adjustment. I used to genuinely love this job. I loved the tinkering and troubleshooting, the technical challenges of keeping these complex machines running smoothly. And I especially loved the moments when someone hit a big jackpot, when the lights and sirens went off and a crowd gathered. The look on a winner's face when they realized they'd just won thousands of dollars. That pure joy and disbelief and excitement that made the whole shift worth it. Those moments reminded you why people come to Vegas, what the dream is all about. But lately, that celebration is gone. It almost never happens anymore. And it's not just that I'm not seeing it in winners' faces because there are fewer big wins. It's that the wins themselves have been programmed out of the machines. It's in the code, in the settings, in the way these machines are configured. See, most people think slot machines are totally random, that every spin is completely independent and has an equal chance of winning. They're not random in that sense. They're coded, they're programmed, and they're adjustable. Every single slot machine on every casino floor has what's called a payout percentage, or RTP, which stands for return to player. This is the percentage of money wagered that the machine is programmed to pay back to players over time. It used to be, going back 5 or 10 years, that most machines were set somewhere around 92% to 95% RTP, depending on the specific game, the denomination, and the property's policies. A 95% RTP means that for every $100 wagered, the machine pays back $95 on average over time, with the casino keeping $5 as profit. That's still a house edge, but it's reasonable, and it means players have a genuine chance of winning, of having good sessions, of walking away ahead sometimes. These days, I've seen machines set as low as 85% RTP. 85%. Let that sink in. That means for every $100 you put into that machine, you're getting back $85 on average, and the casino is keeping $15. That difference might not sound like much when I say it that way, but over time, over hundreds or thousands of spins, that's the casino absolutely bleeding people dry. You sit down at that penny slot machine thinking, hey, it's just a few bucks. I'll play for a while and see what happens. But you're not winning like you used to. You're not getting those exciting bonus rounds or those satisfying small wins that keep you engaged and having fun. It's subtle at first. A little less frequent wins here, a near miss there where the symbols almost line up but don't quite. And after a while, even the die-hard regulars, the people who have been coming to Vegas for decades and know the games inside and out, they start to notice. They realize something has changed, that the machines don't feel the same anymore. You know how many regular players used to come in and play the same machine every single trip, developing a relationship with a particular game? I had one old-timer, a guy named Bernie, who came in every Saturday morning for 9 years straight. 9 years. He played the same Cleopatra Gold machine, the one positioned right by the escalators on the main casino floor. I'd see him there almost every week, and we'd chat while I did my rounds. I haven't seen Bernie in 6 months now. I asked around, asked other techs and some of the floor staff if they'd seen him. He got fed up, apparently. One of the cocktail waitresses told me he said it wasn't fun anymore, that it felt like the machine was just sucking him dry, taking his money without giving him any entertainment value or any realistic chance of winning. And it's not just Bernie. The comps, the complimentary rewards that casinos give to players, have gotten dramatically stingier. The free play offers have dried up. Even the tiered reward systems that are supposed to incentivize loyalty have become so complicated and convoluted that you practically need a spreadsheet and a calculator just to figure out whether your accumulated points will get you a free buffet. Spoiler alert, they won't. You need way more points than you used to for way less value. My job has changed fundamentally. We're not fixing machines to make them work better for players anymore. We're managing loss, managing player frustration, trying to keep people from getting so angry that they damage the equipment or cause a scene. The other night, I watched a middle-aged woman get so frustrated that she kicked one of the cabinets hard enough to break her sandal and probably hurt her foot pretty badly. Security had to come and escort her away. But honestly, I don't blame her at all. She had that look in her eyes, a look I'm seeing more and more frequently on the casino floor. It's a look that says, I came here hoping for a little magic, for a little excitement and possibility, and all I got was robbed. It kills me because I genuinely want players to win. I really do. I want people to scream with joy and laugh and high-five strangers when they hit a jackpot. That used to happen all the time, multiple times per shift. Now it's just quiet on the floor. Just the constant hum of the machines and people staring blankly at the screens, mechanically pressing buttons, watching their money disappear. Vegas used to be a place where you felt like maybe, just maybe, tonight would be your night. That sense of possibility, that hope, was what made Vegas special. But now it's like we're running a simulation, a fake version of what Vegas used to be. Flashy lights and big promises, but no actual payout, no real chance of winning. I don't know exactly who's making these calls, who's deciding to set the machines tighter and tighter. Corporate executives, I guess, people in suits looking at spreadsheets and profit margins who have never actually spent time on a casino floor talking to real players. But they're forgetting something absolutely fundamental and important. People don't just come to Vegas to gamble in the pure sense of risking money. They come here to feel alive, to feel that rush of possibility and excitement. You take away the genuine chance of winning, you take away the hope and the thrill, and all you're left with is a giant vending machine that only takes money and never gives anything back. And sooner or later, people figure that out and they stop coming. The word spreads, the reputation changes, and Vegas becomes known as a ripoff instead of as an entertainment destination. Story 4. The Fremont Street Bartender. It's not fun anymore, it's just loud and angry. I've been slinging drinks on Fremont Street for over a decade now. I started when I was 24 years old, fresh out of college and thinking that bartending in Las Vegas was literally the coolest job in the world. And for a while, for several years actually, it absolutely was everything I'd hoped for and more. I worked at one of the outdoor bars near the stage, the one with the cheap daiquiris and plastic souvenir cups that tourists love. The nights were wild, but they were fun wild, the good kind of chaos. Bachelorette parties singing along loudly and off-key to Bon Jovi and Journey. Drunk tourists tipping $20 bills because they'd just won $500 on a craps table and felt generous and lucky. It felt like the whole street, all of Fremont, was on one big team and everyone was invited to join the party. There was this sense of collective celebration, of shared experience, that made even the craziest shifts feel worthwhile. But now, in 2025, the vibe is completely different. It's meaner, harder-edged, more aggressive. And I'm not just saying that as a jaded service worker who's burned out after too many years in the industry. The crowd itself has fundamentally changed. The energy is off in a way that's difficult to describe, but impossible to miss once you've experienced it. Something about the whole atmosphere feels like a powder keg waiting to explode, like violence or chaos is always just one incident away. The drinks are still flowing, probably more than ever actually, because people are drinking heavily. But the people consuming those drinks are angrier, more impatient, ruder in a way that's not just drunk rudeness, but entitled aggressive rudeness. Last month, some guy literally screamed in my face. Not yelled, but full-on screamed. Because we were out of Red Bull and couldn't make his vodka Red Bull. He acted like I had personally ruined his entire vacation, like this was some unforgivable offense rather than a minor inconvenience. The tips are worse, way worse than they used to be. It used to be that even broke college kids on a budget would throw you a few bucks because they appreciated the show, the flair bartending, the banter and energy that made getting a drink part of the entertainment. Now I'll serve a group of 6 people. I make them elaborate shots, smile and crack jokes, and try to create a fun experience and get absolutely nothing in return. Not a dollar, not even eye contact, or a thank you. Just people grabbing their drinks and walking away like I'm a robot or a vending machine. And I get it. I understand the underlying dynamic. Prices have gone up dramatically. A beer that used to cost $4 or $5 now costs $9 or $10. People feel like they're getting ripped off at every turn, and that anger builds up inside them. But we're the ones, the bartenders and servers and frontline workers, who take the heat for corporate pricing decisions we have no control over. I've seen more physical fights this year than in the last 5 years combined. Actual fistfights over spilled drinks, over someone accidentally bumping into someone else in a crowded walkway. Screaming matches that escalate into shoving and punching. Security can barely keep up with the incidents, and I've heard from security staff that they're as frustrated and overwhelmed as we are. And the worst part, the thing that makes me saddest, is that the magic is completely gone from Fremont Street. Fremont used to be the scrappy, authentic alternative to the corporate strip. It was cheaper, grittier, rougher around the edges, but it was full of genuine character and personality. You'd see talented street performers, multiple Elvis impersonators competing for tips, couples drunkenly renewing their wedding vows at 2 odd a.m. under the Fremont Street Experience canopy. There was this sense of anything goes fun, of authentic Vegas weirdness and charm. Now, when I look around Fremont, it's mostly influencers with ring lights and selfie sticks clogging up the walkways, blocking foot traffic while they film themselves. Or it's people in elaborate LED suits or costumes, aggressively demanding tips for selfies, getting in tourists' faces in a way that feels more like harassment than entertainment. Last weekend, I caught myself looking around during my shift and thinking, man, I don't even want to be here anymore. That thought scared me because this job, this street, used to be my pride and joy. I loved making drinks and helping people celebrate something important. A win at the casino, a birthday, a bachelor or bachelorette party, a last night out before getting married. But now it just feels transactional and cold, like we're all going through the motions and pretending this is still fun when everyone secretly knows it isn't anymore. The tourists feel it. You can see it in their faces and body language. The locals definitely feel it, which is why so many locals have stopped coming to Fremont entirely. And the old school regulars, the people who used to sit at my bar for hours and tell me stories about the Golden Nugget in the 1980s or about downtown Vegas before the Fremont Street Experience was built, I haven't seen most of them in years. One regular, a guy who used to come in every few weeks, told me the last time I saw him that he'd stopped coming to Fremont because it had turned into Bourbon Street without any of the charm. I don't know what the answer is, how to fix what's broken. But I know this with absolute certainty. Vegas isn't just about casinos and nightclubs and gambling. It's about a feeling, an atmosphere, an experience. A little bit of danger, a little bit of glamour, and a whole lot of fun. And if that feeling is gone, if the fun has been replaced by anger and frustration and transactional interactions, then what are we even doing anymore? This isn't the Vegas I signed up for, and I don't know if I want to keep doing this job if it stays like this. Story 5. The Casino Security Officer. This ain't the Vegas I signed up for. I've been working casino security on the Las Vegas Strip for 19 years now. I started back in 2006, right as the big mega resort boom was happening, and Vegas was transforming into what it is today. When I first took this job, I thought I'd be dealing with drunk tourists who needed help getting back to their rooms, the occasional petty thief trying to steal chips or cheat at cards, and maybe breaking up an argument at a blackjack table once in a while when someone got too heated about a bad beat. And yeah, for a long time, for most of my career actually, that's exactly what the job was. Long shifts, sure, and you had to stay alert, but the work was never dull. Vegas had this chaotic heartbeat, this constant energy, but it was fundamentally good-natured chaos. People came here to have fun, to spend money, to blow off steam and escape their regular lives for a few days. Even when things got rowdy, when people got too drunk or too excited, it felt like part of the package, part of what made Vegas special. But lately, over the past 2 years especially, it feels completely different. The atmosphere is heavier, colder, more oppressive. It's like the joy has been systematically sucked out of the city and replaced with something darker. The weird thing, the thing that doesn't make intuitive sense, is that it's actually quieter now on the casino floors, and not in a peaceful, calm way. You walk the floor at 2 a.m. on a Friday night, which should be absolutely peak time, and half the gaming tables are empty. You hear the same slot machine jingles looping over and over because no one's playing, no one's winning. The pit bosses look bored, standing around with nothing to supervise. Dealers are whispering to each other, trying to stay awake and alert when there's no action happening. But despite the physical emptiness, despite fewer people being in the casino, my job has actually gotten more intense and more stressful. Because the people who are still showing up, the ones who are still coming to Vegas, they're more desperate, more frustrated, more on edge. They feel cheated and ripped off and they lash out. Not usually at the house, not at the casino itself, but at each other or at us, the security staff and other employees. I've had to break up fights over parking spaces, actual physical altercations because someone took someone else's spot. I had a guy threaten to throw a chair through the sportsbook window because his guaranteed parlay bet lost and he'd convinced himself it was rigged. I watched a woman slap a slot machine in frustration and then turn around and slap her boyfriend because they'd lost too much money and she was blaming him for dragging her to Vegas in the first place. But the scariest thing, the thing that bothers me most, is that even when the casino is half full, when there are people around, there's this weird tension hanging in the air. Like everyone is pretending they're having a good time, putting on a show for social media or for their friends, but they're actually miserable underneath. You can see it in people's eyes if you pay attention. People walk past the penny slots, machines that used to be constantly occupied, and they don't even stop or look. They used to smile at the sounds and the lights, toss in a $20 bill just to feel the buzz and excitement of playing. Now it's like no one believes they'll actually win anything, so why bother? And honestly, they're not wrong to feel that way. Corporate management has tightened everything. The slot machines are set tighter, paying out less frequently and in smaller amounts. Table game minimums have skyrocketed. You used to be able to find $5 blackjack at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon at multiple casinos. Now it's $25 minimum just to sit down at most tables, and sometimes $50 or even $100 during busy times. For a lot of regular folks, working class people, or retirees on fixed incomes, $25 per hand is their entire night's gambling budget. You know who I don't see on the casino floor anymore? The Midwest retirees who used to come every year, the bingo players who loved the casual social atmosphere, the old-timers who would chat with you during your rounds and tell you stories about the Stardust or the Dunes or other classic casinos that are long gone. They've stopped coming entirely. I asked one guy, a regular I'd known for over 15 years, why he hadn't been back in so long. He looked at me sadly and said, "Vegas doesn't want people like me anymore." And I think he's absolutely right. The city is chasing whales, ultra-high rollers from overseas, tech bros with money to burn, crypto millionaires. That's who they're building for and marketing to. Luxury suites, bottle service at nightclubs, private gaming tables with $1,000 minimums. Everything else, all the regular gaming floors and affordable options, is just smoke and mirrors to keep the casino looking busy for promotional photos and videos. But you can't build a sustainable city economy on whales alone. You need the working class folks, the middle class families, the dreamers, and regular people who made Vegas what it was. That's what kept Vegas alive and thriving for decades. And they're leaving, choosing other destinations or just staying home. Or worse, they're here physically, but they feel like ghosts, like they don't belong, like the city has moved on without them. I still do my job professionally. I keep the peace. I walk the floor with my head up. I respond to incidents and help guests when they need assistance. But some nights, especially the quiet ones when I'm walking past empty tables and silent slot machines, it feels like I'm guarding a memory instead of an actual functioning casino. This ain't the Vegas I signed up for 19 years ago, and I'm starting to genuinely wonder if it's ever coming back, if we'll ever return to what made this city special. Conclusion: those are the 5 stories, the 5 perspectives from real Las Vegas workers that I wanted to share with you today. Even just reading them out loud, transcribing them and presenting them, gives me this uncomfortable feeling, this sense of loss and sadness. It almost feels like watching an old friend, someone who used to be your best friend, get hopelessly addicted to destructive substances and never being the same person again. He's still physically there, might even look okay on the surface, but deep down that old friend of yours is dead, and he's not coming back. You care for him, you love him, you do anything to help him get better and recover. But he doesn't want to be helped. He's in denial about the problem, and deep down, you know it's probably a hopeless cause. I want to be more optimistic about the future of Las Vegas, I really do, but I'm honestly not so sure anymore. I have connections with a lot of people I've worked with over the years who are still living and working on the Strip, including a few higher-ups in management and operations who truly know the ins and outs of what's really going on behind the scenes. And the stories I've shared today are only scratching the surface of how bad things have gotten. There's so much more happening that doesn't get talked about publicly. I'm sorry if I'm being a downer, if this content is depressing or discouraging, but for now, the best way I can cope with watching this city decline is to continue documenting what's happening and to keep telling stories of the good old days, preserving the memory of what Vegas used to be. The crazy wins, the crazy characters, the crazy nights in the craziest of cities. I'll continue to address the topic of what many are calling the death of Vegas, but I definitely want to make sure we balance that with some positivity and nostalgia about Vegas's glory days, the era when this city was genuinely the entertainment capital of the world. Hopefully, somehow, it will come back to that someday. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to support this work. Words truly can't describe how much I appreciate you watching and listening up to this point. Thanks for your time and attention.